Good evening, I'm Justin White, doing my presentation on private security. I'm here to tell you how to protect yourself while you protect the nation. If you wish to come to America and conduct yourselves and prepare a company to give private security to airports, seaports, and our borders, you need to know a couple of things, mainly about the rights of U.S. citizens and how to avoid being in trouble by staying away from certain taboos. There are some things you should know, and we'll get into it. So, when we talk about private security, you should know that law enforcement is your friend. They are here to ensure that we conduct ourselves in accordance with the law, but at the same time, if you have issues taking care of your own issues, you just know that you are not allowed to do many of the things that law enforcement is. So you should probably set your business up in close proximity to law enforcement, hopefully with the opportunity of taking care of things quickly and safely. You're not entitled to search private property without permission, so that's the Fourth Amendment. But at the same, it would be illegal search and seizure even if it's not done by federal law enforcement or state. You still aren't allowed to just go through people's things. Definitely include civilians in your security. We all know the saying, if you hear something or if you see something, say something. So that's something we can incorporate into your business. Moving on. So we're going to talk about the Fourth and Fifth Amendment. We should know that we just talked about illegal searches. We don't want to go ahead and just rummage through people's bags. Yeah, if we're going, we allow people to voluntarily display their private goods and their bags that's on them if you're going to conduct security at airports. We know we go through metal detectors, x-ray machines, all that. But we don't want to just go ahead and just, we want to ensure that is voluntary. We want to make sure that we're not going to make people do it. Obviously, someone can't get on a plane without, volunteering to surrender their goods for inspection, which is the clause, at the same time, you can't make them so. If they don't comply, they can leave, but at the same time, you want to ensure that you're not practicing illegal searches. Unlawful detention. Remember, you are not law enforcement, so you should have law enforcement on standby or in close proximity to your airports or seaports, or if you are doing border inspections, you want to ensure that law enforcement is nearby so that they can do the proper turnovers in the event that someone has to be detained. Remember that these people have private property. You can't you can't treat it however you want. You still have to respect people's goods. Ask a lot of questions. You want to you do want to make sure that you are providing as good security as you possibly can, right? So you also don't want to just go through people's things. So ask them trigger questions, something that will make people not be on guard, but at the same time you want to make sure that, like, hey, you have weapons, you have explosives and things like that. Someone without any of that stuff is just going to be like, nope. But someone that does, they might give you some triggers, a little nervous system. Remember, the Fifth Amendment only applies to the government and asking questions. So if you ask someone, hey, did you bring a weapon onto this aircraft, or are you carrying something we should know about? And if they give you that answer, they say yes, well, and as long as you're recording, that can be used in the federal court of law. If they can't, then they can be effectively put on like a no-fly list, no travel list. They might be detained and have to deal with criminal proceedings. But remember, get as much information, ask as many questions as you can. You want to get as much information from someone that you may suspect of committing a criminal act as possible before the police get there, because The police have to Mirandize people that they bring in, all that stuff. But as a private entity, you can ask them whatever you want, and if they volunteer that information and you're recording it, it can all be used as evidence against them. So always record everything, ask a lot of questions. Let's see, moving on. So we're going to talk about risk management now. Whenever we're talking security, we always want to understand that there's always a possibility of emergencies, and depending on the area, you have non-organic disasters, but you also have organic ones. You want to do those risk assessments and ensure that you are conducting yourself with the possibility of anything can go wrong. So you want your security to look at all possibilities, bombs, terrorists, and make sure your infrastructure is built for that. Earthquakes also happen depending on where you're setting up. So you want to look at that, your threat analysis for organic and your cost analysis for your inorganic, because you want to make sure that you're mitigating those issues before you reach those possible problems. Also, insider threats. Your own company can obviously be subject to people becoming employed with you and then using your information against you to gain entry or just commit espionage. It's a problem everywhere. You want to conduct thorough background checks and ensure that people are on the same page as you, and you don't want to include someone that could be, a part of a jihadist network in your airport security, So we always want to conduct thorough background checks and do a very good check. So make sure to ensure that insider threats are not going to be a threat to you. Next, again, law enforcement can help you. You want to dig in, you want to look at most wanted lists and keep your own no-fly list and your ban list up to date with public record. You want to look for terrorist watch lists and look for suspicious behavior in people, because we all know, you don't want to be the guy that allows that unattended bag to blow something up at your airport. So you want to be prepared. And of course, build your facilities near a law enforcement agency for quick reaction times, because in a disaster or an emergency, you want those times so you can not be liable for damage to civilians and their property, because you can still be held in a civil suit if you did not do your homework, if you didn't do your due diligence to protect the people that are coming through your facilities. Again, you are not law enforcement. Avoid actions that may cause a civil suit. You remember, you don't want to illegally detain someone. You don't want to conduct yourself in a manner that will get you sued. You want to protect the others around you as well. Remember, protect the people that are coming through your facilities. We'll have to harp on that, because as much money as coming through and you're making a profit providing security, if you are only providing security for the infrastructure and not the people that are coming through it, you could be held liable for any damages. Avoid violating people's rights. You don't want to roughhouse someone when they might be getting a little rowdy. You get law enforcement in on that. You don't want to send your own security out there whenever someone's getting a little rough and rowdy. You want to ensure they're on standby, but block off the exits, make sure they can't escape. And again, protect your customers. They are the ones that are making you money. Public and private security, they always go together. You always want to make sure you are working very tight with the government, right? So we're in emergency planning. You want to actually include your law enforcement, your fire department, your EMS in those plans. I always elect to have representative at your meetings when it comes to disaster response. Maybe establish an emergency operations center in your facility, somewhere that we could always rally and begin enacting the emergency action plan. Familiarize your employees with the incident command system, and utilize the National Incident Management System and take part in federal emergency management. So we always want to ensure that we are right there with our government, hand in hand, because they can help us, we can help them to protect our nation against any disasters and threats. And that is it for my presentation. Thank you very much.